Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Anna Manuel. A Pennsylvania man is behind bars after deputies say he crossed state lines to rape a minor. 29-year-old Dylan Lewis of Tioga County was arrested on 12 felony charges of child sex abuse. Pennsylvania State Police report that Lewis was arrested based on a rape case filed by Montgomery County, Maryland detectives. Lewis is being held in the Tioga County Jail without bond. An Addison man arrested by New York State Police on rape charges stemming from an incident that happened on Monday. 26-year-old Chevis Sargent was arrested for a sexual assault that happened in Horseheads on January 23rd. Sargent was arraigned in Horseheads and has been remanded to Chemung County Jail. The Corning Museum of Glass takes its promise of accessibility one step further. Tonight, our Maggie Hall takes us on a tour through the museum's sensory backpacks and shows us how this opens up the museum for all.
These sensory backpacks redefine inclusion at the Corning Museum of Glass.
We didn't at the time have a lot for people who might have been autism spectrum diagnosed or people who might have sensory issues. And at our facility, there's lots of different light levels, sound levels, and it makes it a little bit hard to navigate our spaces if you don't have some helpful tools.
Starting off, there are 2 pairs of sunglasses, along with handheld and wearable fidget devices.
One of my favorites is the feeling cards, in case somebody's nonverbal. They have a bunch of different feelings that folks might be having. Of course, earmuffs for our louder spaces.
The pack even has a map with museum spaces labeled as louder or quieter to navigate your museum tour as comfortably as possible. Finally, the pack contains notepads and activity booklets, along with a wearable weighted blanket. The museum has seen the positive impacts of these tools.
We've had a few families that have really taken to the entirety of the pack, and a child has utilized the entire pack. And then I actually heard from another family that just carrying the pack was grounding for this child, so they were able to kind of be more present in their experience with us just by having that weight on their shoulders.
All you have to do to get the sensory backpack is ask for one at the admissions desk and drop off your ID. You can pick your ID back up when you drop off the sensory bag at the end of your tour. Maggie Hall, Big Fox News, Corning.
The country's economy grew more than expected in the final quarter of 2022, capping off a year of high inflation and rising interest rates. But some say the numbers are mixed. Madeline Rivera has more.
A streak of consumer and government spending helped sustain economic growth last year, with the country's GDP increasing at an annual rate of 2.9% in the last quarter.
The consumer's fine. I'm not deeply concerned about them at the moment.
The growth is smaller than the 3.2% increase in the third quarter, but the better-than-expected report marks a solid start for the new year after inflation and a series of federal rate hikes roiled markets and fueled fears of a recession in 2022. Still, there are questions over whether the economy can maintain its resiliency.
Housing, which is in free fall, it's in a deep recession. Manufacturing has started to enter a downturn. So there are a lot of signs of cracks and fissures in the economy.
Although inflation is cooling, gas prices are rising again, and several tech companies are announcing thousands of layoffs, including IBM, Google, Microsoft, and Spotify. Meta, which owns Facebook, says their layoffs are happening partly because they overhired during the pandemic.
We are really leaning into driving greater efficiency through the way in which we do things.
Adding to the uncertainty, the fight in Congress to raise the debt limit, which is threatening to throw the country into economic turmoil. Next week, the Federal Reserve Board is meeting, where they are expected to issue the first rate hike of the new year. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
The Federal Trade Commission is warning consumers to be on the lookout for job scams as layoffs increase in tech and other industries. The FTC says scammers will often post non-existent roles and create fake websites to steal your personal information. Fake online interviews are another way scammers try to attract job hunters in order to steal their personal information. The popular Celsius energy drink has a lawsuit against it that you could qualify for. The energy drink has been sued for claiming no preservatives on its label despite containing citric acid. If you've purchased the drink between January 1st, 2015 and November 23rd of 2022, you could receive up to $250. To file, visit CelsiusClassActionsSettlement.com. Trading in your iPhone now might get you less money. The tech company has lowered trade-in value offers. What used to be $650 offer to trade in an iPhone 13 Pro Max is now $570. The trade-in value for an iPhone 13 Pro also decreased by $80. There's good news for some older models. The iPhone 11, 10, and 8 have stayed the same price to swap. On Wednesday, the West said it was sending tanks to Ukraine. On Thursday, Russia responded, targeting civilian infrastructure with at least 55 missiles and about 24 Iranian-made attack drones. Trey Yingst has more from Kyiv, Ukraine.
Ukraine's air defense is working overtime on Thursday as Russia launched a deadly new round of missiles and drones at major cities, sending thousands into underground shelters. The Ukrainian military says at least 55 missiles were fired, 47 were shot down, along with 24 Iranian-made drones, all of which were intercepted.
10 ракетних ударів.
The enemy launched airstrikes and missile strikes on the civilian infrastructure. There is a great danger of further Russian air and missile attacks.
The attack came just hours after the U.S. announced it will send 31 Abrams battle tanks to Ukraine. Germany, Poland, and other NATO allies also planning on shipping their Leopard tanks to the front lines. The Pentagon says the new focus on offense will add significant penetrating power, allowing Ukraine to take the fight to the Russians.
Armored vehicles are important. You know, you don't go after a crocodile with a cornstalk. Those armored vehicles, they're going to have an effect.
But the Germans say it will be at least 2 months before their tanks arrive here, and American Abrams tanks are expected to take even longer. That might not be fast enough to stop a major Russian advance now underway in the east, prompting a plea for more speed from Ukraine's president.
I understand what does it mean. It means that they will come, and still we didn't get them. Of course, who knows when the tanks, for example, Leopards 2, will be in Ukraine.
The Kremlin said Thursday the tank shipments mean the U.S. is now, quote, directly involved in the conflict. In Kyiv, Trey Yingst, Fox News.
Former President Donald Trump might be back on Facebook. After 2 years of being banned from Facebook and Instagram, the platforms have determined that the former president can return. President Trump was banned from both platforms after the 2021 insurrection at the Capitol. The ban will be fully lifted in the upcoming weeks. Stay with us. Your complete forecast is next.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Well, we continue to stay underneath some breezy and overcast skies that at times have been able to shake out a few flurries, but for the most part, this impactful low pressure system is working out. Now, we'll still talk about some active weather. However, the local area is looking to stay definitely on the quieter side. Now, cloud cover through the overnight will hold temperatures within the 20s, and note that we are gaining this southerly wind from the west to the south, which is not going to be as breezy as it was, but the southerly wind is definitely going to help out as we head into that Saturday forecast. Now, Friday morning low temperatures were dropping into those 20s, again mild technically for this time of the year. That cloud cover, as mentioned, helping us out as we should be into the teens this time of the year. We may see that next week. But overall, as we head into our Friday afternoon, we'll have some seasonable conditions. May mention maybe a shower or two or a sunshine peak or two, but can't expect it as we are still staying under a pretty active weather pattern. There's a clipper system that it's going to be working its way off to the north. Now, it keeps most of the snow showers out of the area. Can't rule out maybe some of those coming into the overnight Friday into Saturday morning, but that clipper system is going to allow for us to keep intact that southerly wind, allowing for temperatures to be a little bit more mild on Saturday and even into Sunday, having highs into those 40s. But by Sunday, a little bit of precipitation from that clipper system will be moving its way on through, causing for some rain and snow possible. However, it's pretty minimal accumulations for the local area. And then that Clipper system is associated with a stronger cold front that will drop in some cooler air as we head into next week, which in the middle of next week, we are going to flip that calendar page from January over to February. And we'll mention some hit or miss snow chances, but it is looking fairly limited for the local area. So as we head into our Friday, we start off into those 20s. As mentioned, there's a little bit of some sunshine possible. Also can't rule out maybe a few flakes again, as well as in some of those times of some cloudiness, but it's definitely not going to be your dominating feature, with temperature-wise climbing into those mid-30s. Now, as we look at those high temperatures, that's where we should be at this time of the year. Average of 33. We're hitting about 34 degrees, where the likeliness of maybe a few more flurries is going to be as you work your way closer to those Finger Lake areas. As that also into Saturday morning is where that Clipper system will be sweeping on through. So again, maybe mentioning a few flurries off north, but pretty limited. We'll be in more of that southerly flow though on Saturday, which is going to allow for those temperatures to hit the 40s. Now all weekend long, it also going to be at times a little breezy, especially with these weak systems that will be sliding on through. It will initiate some tighter wind gradients, which could bring a gust or two, but it's all out of the south that keeps us mild through Sunday into those 40s. But by Monday, the wind's calm, but that's where that switch in that wind comes. So you see that we hang on to 40s there through Sunday. With the more mild temperatures, it will be a wintry mix into Monday morning. So note that Monday morning could be a little slick with a few flurries lingering. And then as we head into the rest of the week, temperature-wise, we'll be holding into more seasonal or below average temperatures with a few flakes to mention.
So far, 2023 has seen more shootings than days. Now, a new report from the Secret Service takes a look at mass attacks between 2016 and 2020, highlighting trends and warning signs so communities can prevent the violence going forward. Ashley Stomier reports.
Acts of violence are happening all too frequently.
A new report from the Secret Service is shedding light not just on shootings, but on mass attacks in general, identifying the warning signs communities need to look out for.
There were 173 attacks that were perpetrated between 2016 and 2020. And the way that we define the criteria for the report is 3 or more harmed in a public or semi-public setting.
Of those attacks, Secret Service officials say half were fueled by personal, domestic, or workplace disputes, with businesses like restaurants, retailers, convenience stores, hospitals, and more impacted the most by targeted violence. Nearly half of the attacks from this study involved a direct relationship between the attacker and their target.
Grievances were the top motive for these attacks, and that involved current or former employees targeting their workplace, current or former students targeting the school, residents who targeted either a senior living facility that they were living in or an apartment complex, as well as customers receiving services.
Firearms were the most frequent used weapon, with men making up nearly all of the attackers. A large number of violent events were planned beforehand, with 2/3 of attackers having talked in person, texted, or posted online about their intentions. If you witness a friend, family member, or coworker making concerning remarks, Secret Service officials recommend reporting it. They also encourage businesses to train employees on workplace violence prevention. In New York, Ashley Strohmeyer, Fox News.
Metro areas like Maricopa County in Arizona are seeing a rise in the number of people without a home. Ellen McNamara has more on that story.
The point-in-time homeless count is required annually by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and it helps cities determine how to allocate resources.
We get the questions answered on why we need to spend money in certain areas, why more on prevention. And one thing we've noticed recently is we've seen a significantly older population entering homelessness.
In Mesa, Detective Aaron Rain is also the homeless resource coordinator. He says Mesa is seeing a significant increase in homelessness for older generations.
We currently have a shelter in the city of Mesa, the Off the Street shelter, where I think 41 people right now over the age of 62, whereas a couple years ago when we first started this, we didn't see anybody over the age of 50.
In Avondale, the trend is different.
Avondale is a really young community. Our average age is under the age of 34.
Young families in Avondale are experiencing homelessness.
People who are working full-time jobs, they might have 2 or 3 kids. Their paycheck only goes so far. They've gotten priced out of the housing market, they've gotten priced out of the apartment market, and now they're staying in a hotel for 2 weeks. That paycheck ends, they crash on someone's couch, that ends, and they're sleeping in their car in a Walmart parking lot.
More than 1,000 volunteers across the valley are helping with the count today.
I like doing this every year because it helps us get connected to the homeless population, and it assists us with the resources that we need to help them as much as possible.
In 2020, about 3,800 people people were homeless, but in 2022, the count jumped to more than 5,000.
By 30 or 40% in the last couple of years.
That's an estimate as to how much the homeless population is growing in the valley. It's an upward trend that communities are trying to prevent. Ellen McNamara, Fox 10 News.
Up next, we have your business headlines. Plus, we meet a yoga instructor with Down syndrome. Those stories and more when we return. Layoffs spread beyond tech giants. Southwest Airlines is being accused of deceptive scheduling, and high-earning men are cutting back on their working hours. CJ Papa has that and more in today's Fox Business Briefs.
Job cuts continue. IBM is putting 3,900 employees on the chopping block. The cuts will amount to about a 1.5% reduction from its headcount of 280,000. Dow Chemical Company laying off about 2,000 employees. The move will save the company $1 billion. And software company SAP will shed up to 3,000 positions after a steep profit drop in late 2022. Southwest Airlines is under federal investigation for possible deceptive scheduling in the wake of the Christmas week travel chaos. The Transportation Department says it is, quote, in the initial phase of a rigorous and comprehensive investigation into Southwest Airlines' holiday debacle that stranded millions. The agency says it's looking into whether Southwest executives engaged in unrealistic scheduling of flights. And American workers have cut back on their hours since 2019. But a new study shows young, high-earning men have dialed back their time on the clock the most, with the top-earning 10% of men logging about 77 fewer hours in 2022, which is 1.5 hours less time on the job each work week. The top-earning 10% of women cut back by 29 hours, which translates to about half an hour less work each week. That's business. I'm CJ Papa.
Trading in your iPhone now may get you less money. The tech company has lowered trade-in value offers. What used to be $650 to trade in an iPhone 13 Pro Max is now $570. The trade-in value for an iPhone 13 Pro also decreased by $80. Good news, though, for some older models, the iPhone 11, X, and 8 has stayed the same price to swap. If you want to trade in your Mac for a newer version, Apple will actually offer you more money, up to $40 extra on some models. She's considered the first female yoga instructor with Down syndrome in the nation, and her classes are always filled to the max with yoga lovers from all walks of life. Patricia Metalati has the story.
Jessica Parsons does the superhero pose, and for many, she is a superhero of sorts.
And how does yoga make you feel?
Powerful. Parsons couldn't be happier to finally reopen her popular class. Like everything else during the pandemic, there were no yoga classes.
I went here today because I'm super excited for everything.
Yoga is Parsons' way of bringing people from all walks of life together.
I really enjoyed it because it's very orientated towards special needs. You don't see that a lot with special classes like this. It's very open to everyone, and I love that about it. It's really amazing how they include everyone.
It's awesome because it's an opportunity for everyone to come into yoga, and everyone at all levels is met. So it's very accessible, which is nice for everyone in our community that might not get the opportunity to do.
Now that yoga classes are back, Parsons says she's looking forward to a busy year with her students.
We love her. It's a unique program, whether you have any challenges or not. If you love yoga or you love Jessica, people just enjoy coming to this class.
And for all you yoga lovers, whether you can or can't do downward dog or the tripod headstand,
I hope if everyone to sign up for my yoga class.
We'll be back after this. So let's leave you with a smile. A new clothing line is tricking artificial intelligence. Clothing startup Capable created a line motivated to protect people's privacy. Wearing their clothes can fool AI-powered facial recognition into thinking you're an animal rather than a human being. The design of the clothing items is specifically made for the system to believe you're a dog, zebra, or even a giraffe. This prevents any AI-powered camera from collecting people's physical characteristics. Consumers will have to pay a steep price, though, for the protection. A knit long-sleeve dress retails for some $520. Their hoodie can go for more than $450. That does it for us. I'm Jamie Holmes. Thanks so much for watching.